In this video you are going to learn 6 straight to the point things that you need to know about the RFC as a foreigner. Let's get into it. The RFC stands for Registro Federal de Contribuyente, which means Federal Taxpayer Registry in Spanish. What is a RFC? RFC is a unique 13-digit alphanumeric code that is assigned to every person or entity for the purpose of paying taxes in Mexico. When it is assigned to an individual, it is similar to a social security number in the States. When it is assigned to a business entity, it is similar to a federal employer identification number in the States. 2. Why is the RFC important? The RFC is important because it is a unique identifier that can be used to track taxpayers and helps combat money laundering. 3. When is it mandatory for foreigners to have an RFC? The RFC is mandatory for foreigners when getting residency, although they do not produce income that generates taxes. When you get residency in Mexico, you are not automatically assigned an RFC. You have to actually apply for it through the SAT. I will explain what the SAT is in a moment. But first, you have to understand that the fact that a foreigner is a resident in Mexico does not mean that they automatically become residents for tax purposes. The general rule is that to be considered a resident for tax purposes, you need to generate more than 50% of your income in Mexico. If that is the case, you only have the obligation to pay taxes in Mexico for said income. This is why it is important to notify the SAT if you are going to generate income or not. Otherwise, the authority will assume that you do have to pay taxes. If you are not going to generate income, your RFC must indicate that you have no tax obligations. If you are going to generate income, remember that there is an agreement between countries to avoid double taxation. In Mexico, the tax system is complicated and changes very frequently. Therefore, I highly recommend that you seek advice from an accountant who can guide you on what would be the best situation for your particular case. 4. What is SAT? SAT stands for Sistema de Administración Tributaria, which means Tax Administration System in Spanish, is the equivalent to the IRS in the States. 5. What happens if you don't have an RFC? If you do not have an RFC, you may not be able to participate in certain activities such as buying a property or a car, tax deduction and invoices, opening a bank account, opening a business, lease commercial property, applying for a loan. You may also have difficulty accessing government services and benefits. How to apply to get a RFC? You can get a RFC by making an appointment and go in person to a SAT office. The reason is that they take biometric data, which means photos of your face and your eyes, as well as your fingerprints as part of the process. The application process is free. I leave you a link in the description where you can schedule an appointment. Requirements. The requirements may vary, but basically you will need to provide passport, resident card, a 3 months or less proof of address, a USB. This is very important because they're going to give you an electronic signature and encrypted files that you are going to need for the tax system. Make sure to write down your password. And CURP. If you do not know what is a CURP, I have a video explaining everything you need to know. To end, I will explain the number configuration so you can understand the nomenclature better. As an example, our resident is John Smith, who born on the 8th of December of 1980. The first 2 letters are the last name. Then we have the first 2 letters of the name. Then you have year, month, and day of birth. And finally, a unique ID tax number provided by SAT. If you have further questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I hope you find this video helpful. If you want to learn local knowledge to invest in real estate in the Mexican Caribbean, I suggest to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.